rankings with your host Eric, my main man Ron. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
So some changes this week in the NHL rankings.
Yeah, big time changes, Eric. Look, four of the teams in the last week's top five took some losses, so there are changes.
All right. So if you want to get right into it at number five.
Yeah, absolutely. Number five, Minnesota Wild. They are now 14-6-1. I tried to get the Rangers in there with only four losses, and Rangers went 2-0 this week, but they beat the Islanders in Boston. While Minnesota, they took out New Jersey, Winnipeg, and Tampa Bay. So, so Minnesota got the nod and they made it into that top five. They're playing some good hockey.
Yeah, you've been talking about them for quite some time now. So
Yeah, about 3 weeks now. They've been like nipping at that top five. Just haven't had those big wins. Well, this week they got a big win with Tampa Bay, and they basically destroyed Winnipeg's chance to get in there.
all right. So what about at number four?
Number four, Toronto Maple Leafs. They had a good week this week. They went 3-0, but again, it was the quality wins, the Kings, the Sharks, and the Ducks. They made that the West Coast thing, and they're not strong teams. So I only had them going up one spot, and plus they still have two more losses than everybody else above them. So Toronto sitting at 16-6-1 at number four. But they could do some damage this week because they got a tough week: Colorado, Minnesota, and Winnipeg. So if they can go unscathed, they could move up, into that top three.
Yeah. So again, what is it, McDavid? He's on
He's in
Edmonton.
Edmonton.
But
Edmonton,
they dropped out this
yeah,
week. That moved Toronto into the
into the
rankings.
fourth spot, and
Yeah.
Minnesota, took the fifth spot.
Yeah. So number three.
Number three, Florida dropping us only a spot. Again, they only have four losses. So, well, three if you want to count the overtime, three more overtime losses, but they still get a point for those. So they're still in that number three spot, but they took a loss to Seattle this week and to Washington. So, Washington seems to be cruising along. They beat Philadelphia, but lately everybody's beating Philadelphia. They were looking good for a while, but they just like fallen off. But Florida has another game with Washington this week, and they also have St. Louis, who was, up there in the top five early. And then Buffalo, they should handle Buffalo pretty easily. But they lost to Seattle, so so you don't know. It's who comes to play,
Something's cracking in the air, man. I don't know.
That's right. Well, the Kraken, if they had a good record, they would have been up there because they also beat Carolina.
Wow. It's so weird the way sometimes things work, right?
Yeah, it's the timing of things, and like if you have that Seattle game sandwiched in between, say, Washington and like Carolina or something like that, a good quality team, you're probably going to have a letdown there. And it happens to a lot of teams. It happens in every sport.
Yeah.
I mean, we know this in football.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, without a doubt. So before I go on to number two, let me ask you this. You are a diehard Bruin fan. It just came out. Brad Marchand, 3-game suspension.
Right.
I know you were a little heated about possibly, another player that didn't get a suspension.
Yeah, so, this has happened. This has happened a couple of times actually. But no, Marchand absolutely did it. Like I said, I knew it right when it happened during the game while I was watching. I'm like, oh, there's a suspension. I knew it was going to happen, and it was just, not really surprising. Came down 3 games and fine. That's all fine and dandy. I get it. But it just happened to a Bruin a couple of games before that. I think it was the Montreal game when a Montreal Canadiens slew-footed somebody, and there was nothing,
Well, I think
no suspension.
do you look at the history though with Marchand and his
Right, and
track
this is
record?
what I'm saying. It's like, okay, if you really truly want to get that out of the game, yes, by all means, you take a good look at people that have a past history, and that's expected, and rightfully so. It's his own fault, but you still have to get it all. You have to get it all, and that I'm
Yeah.
sorry that toss by Sidney Crosby is going to stick in my head for the entire season because he got absolutely nothing, and that was literally an attack.
Yeah.
It was not just like you're aggravated and you just hit him bad,
Yeah.
bad hit on him.
Yeah.
Like
He
a
tackled him
boarding or
pretty
something
much.
like that. This was he actually attacked him and flung him up against the boards. I mean, that there's no need for that. And it's Sidney Crosby, so he gets away with it.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Montreal Canadiens. They fired their GM.
Yes.
So do you
They're
think
going
that
to
was-
clean house. They're going to clean house. And rightfully so because this team is terrible. Like I said last year, like they went to the Stanley Cup. They should not have been there. They just rode Carey Price there. But Carey Price isn't there right now.
Mhm.
So they have nobody to ride. And it's showing. They are bad. They
So you
are
don't-
really bad.
So you don't feel they should have probably got a pass just this season until at least the season ended? You think they made the right move at this time?
Absolutely. Do it now. Do it now and see. Then that way the new GM can analyze what he's got.
All right, outstanding. So let's move on to your number 2.
Number 2 is Carolina. Like they dropped down a spot. They are still 15-4-1, still a remarkable record. So there was no way Carolina and Florida were going anywhere. Carolina went 1-2-1 this week, so they had a rough week. Of course, losing to Seattle. They also lost to San Jose,
Wow.
and then Washington also beat them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that tells you, but and again, they beat Philly, so everybody's beating Philly now.
Yeah.
But they have a pretty good schedule next week. They have Dallas, which is a tough team, but they have Ottawa and Buffalo. So I don't see Carolina. There's no way Carolina is dropping out of the top 5 next week. There's no way, because there's no way they're losing all 3 of those games.
All right. Well, we'll see because a lot of things can happen. That's why they play the games.
Yeah, well, they do have a couple of guys out with COVID now.
Oh, so that could cause. All right. So at number 1.
Number 1, if you were paying attention, class, Washington. They beat both Carolina and Florida this week. They went 3-0. They also beat Montreal, if that mattered. 14-3-5. They've only lost 3 regulation games still. That 3 has been there since like week 2.
So some of the key though, I mean, Ovechkin at his age and what he's able to do right now for that team, I think they said at this pace right now, he's actually at the highest goals he scored in his career.
Yeah, he's on a pace to get 70 goals and 70 assists.
That's insane.
That would be crazy.
That's insane. So, I mean, there was a debate. I've had it on NHL, one of the NHL pages about him passing Gretzky. It's almost a lock at this point, right? If he continues to play this way, I don't.
As long as he stays healthy.
Yeah. Right. So
and that's always the question at that age. Is
so
health.
Let me ask you this question. You're a hockey guy. You've been watching hockey a long time, and again, I always say you're the hockey guru. You know hockey. Would that put him ahead of Gretzky if he ends up passing him for the all-time goals? In your mind?
That's a tough one.
I'm putting you on a spot, and I know that
that's a tough one because, well, look, I'm going to say this. I love a player like Ovechkin because, first of all, he's not just a goal scorer. He's pretty tough.
Yeah,
like he's a tough dude.
Yeah.
And he can
He's
handle
missing a few
himself.
of
He
the
doesn't
ivories.
need anybody to babysit him.
Yeah. He's
Like Wayne
missing a few of the
Gretzky
ivories.
needed somebody to watch
you.
over him. But what Gretzky was, with the vision that he had on the ice and the passing and stuff like that, that's an added feature that nobody's had like that. And he may pass him in goals. That's tough because there's a lot to it, but I will say this. Gretzky also had Yari Curry, Mark Messier, and a whole slew of other Paul Coffey. To me, Ovechkin doesn't have that. Like he has Backstrom. I mean, he's a good hockey player, but he's not Mark Messier and Yari Curry. And I myself like Ovechkin more than Gretzky because of his play style. And but will he be better skill wise? Probably not. But I'd take him. I'd take him in a heartbeat. I would love for him to be playing for the Bruins. Would love it.
Yeah, they definitely need a spark at this point because they're a very flat team.
Yeah, well, the Vander Kane got put on waivers and he cleared them.
Oh, okay.
And I was thinking, it's like,
wait a minute. Juice? You want to try it? Would you do it?
I was thinking, it's like, I wouldn't want him on the team. Well, I wouldn't want him on the team, but he could help this team. And he's not going to influence the Bruins because look at the leadership on that team. Like you're talking Bergeron, Marchand, you got young Charlie McAvoy, you got Taylor Hall. There's no way he's influencing this team in anything because they'll just say, "Hey, you got to go." So why not sign him to a minimum veteran contract for 1 year and see how it happens?
So let me ask you this question since you brought up the Bruins. Tuukka Rask.
God.
Started to practice, I guess, skate around.
Thank God, because Ullmark is terrible.
So now you want Rask back?
I would take him over Ullmark for sure. At this point, I take any goaltender in the league. He scares me. Rebounds all over. He can't cover the puck. He can't cover it. And it's just so scary. And it's like, it's like when the Bruins defense is trying to cover and he doesn't cover the puck and somebody just skates in and just taps it and it goes by him. And I know he only gave up 2 goals yesterday, but it should have been a lot more.
So are there any teams that you didn't mention this week that we should be looking out for to possibly make the jump next week?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, the Rangers were really close because they went 2-0, like I said. Also, Calgary still only has 4 losses, and they could get back in this.
But you've had them up there a couple times now.
Yeah, and also Edmonton. Like that's a team that's still trying to find their way defensively, I think. So I would, but the 2 teams that stick in my mind right now, Tampa Bay and Colorado. We have not heard the last of those 2 teams, and I believe McKinnon comes back tonight to play. So Nate McKinnon is going to start lighting it up, and Colorado is just going to be dangerous. And they have 6 losses like Minnesota, but they played 3 less games. So, so you're looking at Colorado and Tampa Bay could probably crack that. They could get in there this next week, if any of those teams fail.
All right. So anybody out there that stay tuned, every Monday we come out with the NHL rankings. So again, to your point, it's been changing constantly. NFL's been changing constantly.
We've had 3 teams up there for most of the year, and that's Washington, Carolina, and Florida. They've been in there. Washington missed out like 1 week.
Yeah, they're kind of just bouncing around now between the top 3, but
right.
So definitely some opportunities. to see what happens next week, next Monday. If you enjoy what you're seeing, check us out on Friday nights. We're on live every Friday at 6 p.m. on Rhode Island Broadcasting, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. There's so many different ways to watch us. You can follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram. Listen to us on podcasts on Amazon, Anchor, Google, Spotify. So many different ways to watch, listen. We're on SEC TV in Southeast Connecticut now. Public Access Channel 12 will be on our show tomorrow night at 10 p.m. for our debut on that.
Sweet.
Right? So a lot going on. NBA rankings will be out shortly, so we'll put those on the board as well. NFL just got released today as well. So a lot going on today on a Monday for Sports Unfolded. All the fans out there that have watched today, thank you. Ron, always appreciate the hockey knowledge. You do a great job, man.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Let's see if next week we get any changes.
Yeah, but hopefully Boston can win a few games and start cracking into this. They belong in the top 5.
Let's hope so. So take care, everybody out there. Ron, have a great night.
Have a great night, everybody. You too, Eric.